The Undoing, the miniseries starring Nicole Kidman, Hugh Grant, Donald Sutherland. Um, yeah,
Suddenly got really popular all of a sudden. Like I hadn't
blew
talked
up.
about it with many people, and all of a sudden everyone's watching it.
Yeah, I think the holiday allowed people to really start catching up on things, and
Mhm.
it seems like the reaction was, "Oh shit." That the ending of that episode of The Undoing, and insert any episode that you want to, because the
Yeah.
show had a knack for leaving you with some great cliffhangers. Um, I think there's a little bit to talk about here, a little bit on this bone, so to speak. Maybe the first place to start is: do you feel satisfied with this season?
That's a great question because I generally enjoyed watching it more often than not, and that's probably because of like the way they manufactured tension with cliffhangers and misdirects and red herrings and all that. So I was always interested in seeing the plot continue, right? But I think it's a bad finale
Hmm.
and an unsatisfying result in terms of the resolution of the plot. So I find the whole series is definitely colored by that. I think it's a disappointing run, but I enjoyed watching it. I'm so happy I gave it a shot. Obviously,
Yeah, I think that's something to really pick apart. And I was left with a similar feeling at first, right? I think when the series wraps up, and this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you haven't finished it, just come back when you've watched. Um, when it turns out to just be Hugh Grant in the end, I was like, all this misdirect, all this what if to really just be him from start to finish. But then I thought about the name of the show, right? The Undoing. And it was
yeah.
always more about, I think, Nicole Kidman's journey of undoing from this, psychopath in a sense,
And
or
the book it's
sociopath.
adapted off is named "You Should Have Known." Same
Right.
thing, right?
And the moment that really stuck out to me in the finale, and that left me actually feeling differently about it at the end, was when she asked the son, like, do you want the family to get back together, and he just is like, through teary eyes, like, do you want that? And like,
Mm.
really like pushes her to answer the question, because then that reframed my expectations of what the show is actually trying to do. And I think when Nicole Kidman goes on the stand and pretty much sabotages her own husband's, trial, then I was like, oh, okay, so this is what the show is really about from start to finish. Instead of it being this procedural like who done it, which was captivating, it was really more about Nicole Kidman's inner journey, which I don't know if that was portrayed
Yeah,
effectively enough. Maybe on a second watch it
kind
would
of
be,
flipped.
but I think when I was looking at it through one lens and it should have been the other, I was like, maybe there's
Right.
something to be said there.
Yeah. Ultimately, the twist is that there is no twist. I think that's immediately like a shocking development to a lot of people, right? But to me, I'm almost more disappointed about because it became more procedural. Like
Right.
when the show started, and I was like, oh, this is David E. Kelly and Nicole Kidman reuniting once again for HBO, and we're watching these ritzy, wealthy people this time on the East Coast, and there's still those clicky social circles among the adults like Big Little Lies, and I'm like, huh. But all of that kind of window dressing really fell apart, and the
Quickly.
show became really straightforward as just a procedural thing as we're leading into the legal proceedings,
Hmm.
and that was just a little less fun to me apart from the like cliffhanger moments, right? Like I'm always wondering like, oh, what's the deal with Lily Rabe's character? What's the deal with Donald Sutherland? And it's like, I don't know, like Lily Rabe's whole thing at the end is that she like gives the prosecutor that info that Kidman told her on the phone about
Hmm.
her husband being a psychopath due to
Yeah.
information she
Narcissist.
learned from her mother-in-law. And it's like, I mean, I guess I'm actually not sure how that's like admissible evidence, like legal wise. I was kind of surprised we walked right over that, like that she can just cite that as something she knows as the prosecutor. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? How do you know her private phone call? Why didn't no one question this? Anyway,
Well,
weird.
the attorney for them, the defending attorney, I forgot her name.
Yeah,
Um, she was really uh, screaming there at the end, and the judge is just like, "Sit your ass down!" Like, we're admitting it. This is all admissible.
yeah.
Man, I think there was. a lot of really great moments though throughout that I go back to, and I think the one thing I was really left with in terms of those great moments was just at different points, I thought pretty much everybody had done it. Like I was convinced at one point that Donald Sutherland had actually killed this woman and like framed Hugh Grant. And I was like, there we go. This was it the whole time, Donald Sutherland. And no, it wasn't. And then when you find the hammer in the son's bag, it's like, did the son, right? And the case, did the son
Mhm.
potentially do it? And it, I thought they did a good job of the misdirect.
Yeah, I had my eyes on Noah Jupe, the son, for a minute, just because the energy he was bringing is like kind of creeping in on conversations and looking through
Yeah.
cracks in the doors and stuff, and I'm like, something's up with this. And then they kind of drop the hammer thing too early, like it's at the end of the fifth episode, and I'm like, all right, well, the kid didn't do it the way through 5 episodes. It's kind of clear the kid didn't do it, so how are you doing this? Like, I think for me, I was always able to theorize, and I feel like everyone who watched the show was able to theorize. You go online, you saw what everyone was saying, but the show, I don't know if it actually was giving compelling alternatives to it being Hugh Grant. And like Nicole Kidman, we saw the footage of her on her weird ass walks at night, and it's like, huh? But you're telling us this in like the third episode. I had a hard time like latching on to any one theory. I was just kind of expecting something to be different.
Yeah.
But that's what the twist ultimately was. That it was actually Hugh. And I mean, how did you feel about the end when he seemed to kind of get a lot more manic at the end when he became more desperate?
Yeah, and I thought that made sense.
Yeah,
It was it was kind of funny because I was like, this is probably with someone who has a personality disorder like this, and is also a psychopath and lacks empathy in this way. When they finally are getting caught and exposed, would probably do. So I thought it made a lot of sense. I just thought it was like incredibly dramatic. I didn't understand why the son went with him to begin with. It's like, you're convinced your dad's the killer, but you're like, let's just go for a joyride.
last time we can do this, Dad.
Yeah.
Breakfast.
This is it, old Papa. I'm a little more interested to hear your thoughts on how did you feel about the performances? Hugh Grant, we've seen in a number of different roles, as an aging male actor, not a leading man anymore in Hollywood. Nicole Kidman, we've seen quite a few things recently. Do you feel like they were strong? What was your temperature?
The Kidman stuff isn't that different with what she's been doing of late. This is kind of a
Yeah.
she has a few molds right now. One is just kind of like the caring mother figure, which we've got in like Lion and the Goldfinch. Then you have the character who's going through like mental gymnastics, like Big Little Lies, like The Undoing. And then you have like kind of one-off things where she actually does something really transformative, like Destroyer. But like
Yeah.
it's really just those other two molds for the most part for like late period Kidman. And I guess in that sense, it's not that different from what I've seen of late.
Mhm.
But I thought it was fine. I thought it was she was good. I think any problems with the character is more to do with the writing and the plotting than her performance.
Yeah, I agree. I actually thought Hugh Grant was really great, though.
Yeah, like I think he's the best part of it for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I think his part lends itself to be when you're basically playing like a double, role. This complete psychopath who also, like most narcissists, is incredibly charming and uh, convincing in a lot of ways. So I thought he was great. And had a lot of fun stuff to do. Donald Sutherland, kind of again in his same role. He's basically just the president from Hunger Games all the time now, which is interesting.
President Snow.
I guess this was like a softer side of President Snow we saw this
Yeah,
time, but
I mean, I liked him in Burnt Orange Heresy. That was a little different, right?
true. That's
But
true.
like you're right though. Most this is kind of he's kind of collecting the bag, doing this kind of stuff. Like
Get
that was another thing too. It's like you have Edgar Ramirez as this NYPD detective. You have Donald Sutherland as the father, the grandfather, the
wasted.
father-in-law. They're really nothing parts at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, Edgar Ramirez just gets to be like incredulous on the stand, and that's like his big moment. And I don't know, it just felt like there was so much more that was going to happen there. Um, as we wrap up, don't want to see a sequel. I think just leave this as what it is. Um, I guess like an anthology maybe if they want to go with something like that. But
That's fine.
eh,
David E. Kelly has enough, cakes in the oven at this point. Same thing with Kidman, who's very active. So I don't think they're gonna bring it back. It looks like it was a big hit. There's no need to go back to the well at this point. Just do something new,
yeah, just give me more Nicole Kidman destroyer type roles. I want to see her
please.